Okay, I'm going to run you through what I'm looking for your program. In this case, I have 3 different training weeks, which compose up of mesocycle 1, and then I want you to show overload as you move into mesocycle 2. I'm actually only going to have you present on 2 mesocycles, or 2 mesocycles for your actual program. But here you see I have week 1, 2, and 3, and you can see that I have 4 training days. Okay, this initial day I actually took from a program that the Strength House was writing up for me. So here's everything that they have me doing, along with what I actually did for weights, and then also my rate of perceived exertion for each thing. I think that what we can do, so that I'm not going over every single exercise for you, and I'll upload this Excel sheet so that you can look at it too. But why don't we just pick one exercise to look at, and then that way I can show you how I'm progressing week to week, and then how I'm overloading as I move from mesocycle 1 over to mesocycle 2. So why don't we just take this safety bar squat to a box, for example, okay? So right here, I was prescribed 4 sets of 5 at 70%. So I was actually able to write down the weights that I use. So 225, 245, 265, and 265. So this is in week 1 on my day 1. So if I moved over to mesocycle 1 and moving over to week 2, I'm seeing that you're not notice I'm not writing anything in here because I actually haven't done it yet. But you'll notice that I'm increasing the weight. So I had my last set was 265. Where are we? Right there, 265. Now we're moving up to 275. So that's week 2. Now you notice that I moved up to 280. So each time I've moved up, I've just specified for you that. So we're increasing the weight by 10 pounds. And then in this case, we're increasing the weight by 5 pounds. And that is just over the course of one mesocycle. So now as I move into mesocycle 2, week 1, this will be pretty easy for you to put together. Because in this case, all I did was I took what I did in mesocycle week 1 of week 2 and just moved it over to week 1. So you'll notice I'm doing 275, that's the same. But if I compare, so if you look at here, the mesocycle is actually identical to the week 2 in mesocycle 1. But if we're comparing week 1 to week 1, we can see we're overloading it by increasing the weight. So here's what I mean by that. This is week 1 right here in mesocycle 2. See that I'm using 275. And in this case, I was only using 265 if I'm going in mesocycle 1, week 1, then over to mesocycle 2, week 1. So the overload in this case that I'm doing is I'm overloading the exercise by increasing the weight. So then mesocycle 2, actually move this over so you can see it. So in this case, now I'm at 280. So if I looked at week 2 of mesocycle 1, I can see that before I was doing 275. So that's up by 5 pounds. So I'm doing 280 now. That's how I've overloaded the program. And then if we compare that to week 1, I went from 275 to 280. So now this final training week right here is kind of the culmination of, so I wrote this right here. This is a culmination of a new, basically highest training volume, and it's happening in the last week of the second mesocycle. So in this case, I'm doing 1 set of 5 on my last set, and I'm using 285. So we went through this whole cycle. Okay, so I'm using 285 for 5 repetitions. In this case, I used 265 for 5 repetitions. So we can see that over the course of 6 weeks, I've increased the weight by about 20 pounds. Okay, and this has been more of a progressive increase. So in this case, I bumped it up by 10 pounds, 5 pounds, and then this actually would be a drop in weight a little bit. So, and then this would be a little bit of an increase in weight. So the 280 is as heavy as I've gone so far. And you can see that in my last week of my mesocycle 1. And then in this case, on my 3rd week of my mesocycle 2, 280 is the highest that I've done so far. And again, I'll upload this, but if you look at it, you'll notice how I changed it every single week. Okay, so in this case, the kettlebell sumo jump squat, it's been bumped up by 2 kilograms. I'm not bumping everything up. So for example, this one's the same number of jumps. I'll specify if I've kept it the same. If you were doing a program and you had a 9 out of 10 RPE or a 10 out of 10 RPE, you might want to keep it the same for another week. But if I was doing something like this, let's see, where's the 6? Actually, here's this one right here. Okay, so this one was 6 to a 7. So I could look at that and I could say, okay, so in week 2, let's make a relatively big bump. And I think added 10 pounds on the bench press. But for other things, so if we did this half kneeling dumbbell overhead press, we could see that I was a 9 out of 10. So I'm going to keep that the same because that was pretty challenging. So some of the things will add weight, some of the things will keep the same. Again, there's other ways that you can overload the program. Take a look at all of the exercises that are on here. But this is the general gist of what I'm looking for. Your program should have, the actual program should have 6 tabs, okay? And then you'll add this on to what you have. What else do you have to do? Like the cover sheet, the listing of the goals, for example. It might not be a bad idea to actually complete 1 full week of training, and then that could give you an idea of what you should be doing for the rest of the course of your training. You don't need to fill these in. That wouldn't make sense because you're not doing it. If you already know some of the loads that you're using, use a load prescription. If you've maxed out, so if you notice right here, we do have percentage based for something, so I know I'm supposed to do based off of a percentage. There's a percentage right there. If you notice, I'm not sure if I have percentages on here. Yeah, so for example, there's still a percentage-based things right here. Because I knew my weights and everything, I don't have as much RPE, but there are still some examples of using an RPE. So just make sure you're using the appropriate one when you do it. And that is that.